Welcome to the RevOps Unleashed podcast, and welcome to our third deep dive. The title for this one is Funnels Aren't Just for Marketers. And that really kind of gets at what we want to unpack today.
It really does. It's a super common assumption, isn't it, that funnel automatically means marketing.
Exactly. But successful businesses, well, they see it as much broader than that.
Across the whole go-to-market engine, really.
Yeah. So today, we're diving deep, drawing on the expertise of Ran Algov to help reframe how we all think about funnels, their impact across the entire GTM setup.
Our mission, then, is to figure out how we define, build, and measure these things beyond just the marketing team's world.
Right, to give you, the listener, a much clearer picture of how that whole revenue engine fits together.
Absolutely. And we'll be looking at three key funnels. They're interconnected, which is important.
Okay, what are they?
First, the marketing funnel. That takes people from just being aware all the way to being marketing qualified leads, or MQLs.
Got it. Awareness to MQL.
Then the sales funnel takes over. It grabs those MQLs and works them towards becoming closed-won deals.
MQL to closed one.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And finally, the one that often gets less attention but is super vital, the customer success funnel. That's all about post-sale. Onboarding, expansion, renewals.
Onboarding to renewal and growth. Okay, three distinct phases.
So let's tackle that big misconception first, this idea of the funnel, singular.
Yeah, you see that pyramid diagram everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Wide top, narrow bottom, happy customer at the end.
But Rand's perspective, it really challenges that. He argues it's not one funnel.
Okay.
It's three. Three distinct but interconnected funnels working together.
All right, let's dig into those then. What makes each one, unique?
Okay, so the marketing funnel, like we said, it's generating that initial awareness, getting your name out there.
Content, lead gen forms, that sort of thing.
Exactly. And then nurturing those early interactions until someone becomes an MQL. They show enough interest, they fit the profile.
Right. So that's marketing's piece. Then the handover happens for the second funnel. Precisely. The sales funnel picks up right there. Once marketing qualifies a lead, sales jumps in.
Their focus.
Converting those MQLs into paying customers. Getting to closed won. That's their goal.
So demos, proposals, negotiation, the classic sales stuff.
That's it. And then comes that third piece, the one you called underappreciated.
The CS funnel.
Yeah, customer success. This is where long-term value gets built. Everything after the signature.
Like onboarding.
Critical onboarding, yeah. Making sure customers get value fast. Then spotting chances to expand upsells, cross-sells, and, of course, locking in renewals.
And you mentioned something interesting there, how CS can feed back into marketing.
Absolutely. A great CS experience leads to happy customers who then become advocates, provide testimonials, referrals, feeding right back into the top of the marketing funnel. It's a cycle.
Okay, so it's clear each funnel has a different job. Does that mean the stages inside them have to be different too?
Oh, completely. The actions that move someone through the marketing funnel downloading a guide, say, are totally different from what moves them through sales, like signing a contract.
And the logic for conversion, it must be unique for each.
Exactly. The triggers are different. And where people might drop off the breakpoints, those will vary too. A marketing drop-off might be after a download, like you said.
Right.
A sales drop-off could be post-proposal.
So trying to mash all that into one single funnel view, it sounds like you'd lose a ton of detail.
You absolutely do. You lose clarity. Where's the friction really happening? Marketing, sales, .cs. You can't tell from one blended view.
And the reporting gets broken.
Totally broken. You can't pinpoint problems or spot opportunities for improvement in specific team processes if it's all just one big mush.
Rand uses an analogy like a subway map versus just one slide. Can you unpack that?
Yeah, think about a subway map. To get from A to B, you need to see the individual lines clearly. Line 1, line 2, line 3, with all their specific stops. That's like each funnel. But you also need to see where those lines connect, the transfer stations.
Yeah.
Right? So you understand the whole system and how to navigate it.
Right, how the different parts link up.
That's the interconnectedness. Each funnel needs its own clear map, its stages, its metrics, but you got to see how they feed into each other to get the full picture of your GTM performance.
Okay, that makes sense. 3 interconnected funnels, not one. So let's get tactical. How do we actually define the stages within these funnels so they actually work, so they give us real insights?
Right. This is crucial. And Rand's criteria here are super practical. He says a good stage needs to be 3 things: behavior-based, measurable, and action-triggered.
Okay, let's break those down. Behavior-based. What does that mean exactly?
It means a lead only moves into a stage because they did something specific. An observable action. We move away from vague stuff like they seemed interested to concrete actions.
Can you give some examples, like before and after?
Sure. Instead of a marketing stage like engaged, make it attended webinar, specific action. In sales, instead of interested, maybe it's requested demo. They actually asked for it.
Got it.
And in CS, maybe instead of just active user, it's completed onboarding checklist. Again, a defined action.
That's much clearer. It takes the guesswork out. Okay, so that's behavior-based. What about measurable?
Well, if it's based on a specific action, it's inherently measurable, right? You can count how many people attended the webinar, requested the demo, completed the checklist.
Right, you can put a number on it.
And that ability to count is fundamental for tracking conversion rates later and spotting those bottlenecks.
Okay, and the third one, action triggered.
This means when someone hits a stage, it should automatically trigger a next step for your team.
Ah, okay. So it prompts action.
Exactly. Lead requested demo, boom, trigger notification for sales to schedule it. It keeps things moving, stops leads from just sitting there.
So having these clear behavior-based stages, that leads to what Rand calls clean conversion points. Why are those so important?
Because if the stages are super clear based on those actions, then the moment someone moves from stage A to stage B is unambiguous. It's clean.
And that lets you measure accurately.
Precisely. You can accurately measure the percentage converting between each step. Without that clarity, your conversion data is fuzzy, unreliable. You can't trust it to tell you where things are breaking down.
Makes sense. And for companies just starting out with this, Rand suggests not overcomplicating it early on.
Yeah, absolutely. Don't try to build a 20-stage funnel right away. Aim for something manageable, like 6 to 8 stages per funnel to start.
6 to 8 per funnel. Marketing, sales, CS.
Yeah, that's a good starting point. Get those really well defined first. You can always add more detail later as you learn more about your specific customer journey. A solid foundation is key.
Okay, solid advice. So we've got our clear behavior-based stages mapped out. Now, what are the absolute must-track metrics within these funnels?
Right. Once the stages are set, Rand points to 3 core metrics: conversion rates, velocity, and drop-off rates.
Conversion rates seem pretty straightforward. What specific conversions matter most?
You need to look at the stage-to-stage conversions within each funnel. So
Yeah.
in marketing, what percentage of visitors become leads? Leads to MQLs. In sales, MQLs to sequels, opportunities to close one.
Right.
And in CS, new customers completing onboarding, customers renewing. Each step's conversion rate tells you something about your effectiveness right there.
Yeah, it shines a light on potential weak spots in each funnel. What about velocity? What does that tell us?
Velocity is about time. How long does it take for leads or prospects to move through the stages or through the whole funnel?
Ah, so are things getting stuck somewhere?
Exactly. Is stage 3 in sales a black hole where deals sit for weeks? Is your overall sales cycle getting longer or shorter? Monitoring velocity helps you spot those efficiency drains.
And lets you figure out why things are slowing down. Okay, and the third metric, drop-off rates.
This tells you where you're losing people. At which specific stage transitions do the highest percentage of leads or customers just disappear?
Finding the leaky parts of the bucket.
Pretty much. Identifying those high attrition points lets you focus your energy. Why are people leaving there? Is it the process, the messaging, the value? Fixing those spots can make a huge difference.
Now, just looking at these numbers overall probably isn't enough, is it? Rand talks about segmenting the data.
Oh, absolutely crucial. Aggregate numbers hide the real story. You need to slice and dice.
Like by what?
By source is a big one. Are leads from, say, organic search converting better or faster than leads from paid ads? That tells you where to put your marketing dollars.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Double down on what works. What else?
By customer segment. Does your funnel work differently for enterprise versus SMB or for different industries? That informs your targeting, your messaging,
Okay.
and especially in the sales funnel, segmenting by rep or SDR, it's huge.
For coaching.
For coaching, yeah. But also for identifying who's nailing it and figuring out what they're doing differently, sharing best practices.
Right, learn from the top performers. Rand also mentions cohort reports as a powerful visualization tool. What are those?
Yeah, cohort reports are great. You basically group leads based on when they entered the funnel, like everyone who became a lead in June.
Okay, the June cohort.
Right. Then you track that entire group through the funnel over time. How many of those June leads eventually closed? How long did it take that specific group?
Ah, so you follow a batch all the way through.
Exactly. It helps you see real trends over time, understand the true journey, not just a snapshot. It shows if your overall process is getting better or worse for leads starting at the same time. Much better than just looking at averages.
That sounds really powerful for seeing patterns. Okay, so we know how to build the stages, what to measure. Let's talk about common mistakes. Where do companies usually stumble with this, according to Rand?
Well, there are a couple of big ones he sees often. The first goes right back to what we discussed earlier. Fuzzy stage definitions.
Still struggling with defining those stages clearly.
Yep. If the criteria for moving a deal from, say, discovery to proposal aren't crystal clear and behavior-based.
Then reps just wing it.
Pretty much. Different reps advance deals based on gut feel, not objective actions. And that makes the whole funnel unreliable. Your pipeline data becomes shaky.
So forecasting becomes a nightmare.
Exactly. You can't trust the numbers. That's a huge pitfall.
Okay, unclear stages. What's the second big mistake?
Reporting that just doesn't reflect reality. The dashboards look nice, maybe, but the data feeding them is flawed.
Why does that happen? Bad data entry.
Often, yeah. Lack of data enforcement in the CRM, incomplete fields, inconsistent usage. Just unclean data overall.
Garbage in, garbage out.
That's the one. If the underlying data is bad, your reports are useless, maybe even misleading. You end up making bad decisions based on bad info.
Right. And Rand mentioned a bonus pitfall, too, something often overlooked.
Yes, and it's neglecting the bottom of the funnel, the customer success part.
Focusing too much on just marketing and sales.
Exactly. Companies pour resources into acquisition, but don't apply the same funnel discipline to onboarding, expansion, and renewals.
Why is that such a big deal? Isn't the deal done?
The initial deal is done, but long-term profit comes from keeping customers happy and growing their value. High churn, messy onboarding, missed upsell opportunities. That all kills profitability.
So CS needs its own funnel view, too.
Definitely. Think about stages like onboarding complete, first value achieved, expansion opportunity identified, renewal secured. Track conversions and velocity there too. It's vital for understanding customer lifetime value and identifying friction points post-sale.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So for someone listening now thinking my funnel needs work, what's the practical playbook? How do they start fixing this based on Rand's advice?
Okay, Rand lays out a pretty clear 5-step tactical plan. Step 1, align. Get marketing, sales, and CS in a room. Agree on clear, consistent, behavior-based stage definitions for all 3 funnels.
Get everyone on the same page first. Crucial. Okay, step 2.
Step 2, build. Take those agreed-upon definitions and actually build the stages out in your CRM. That's your system of record.
Makes sense. Get it documented in the tech. Step 3.
Step 3, automate. Wherever possible, set up automation rules in the CRM to move leads or deals between stages based on those defined behaviors. Like, if a contact record shows attended webinar, automatically move them to that stage.
Reduce manual work, improve consistency, smart. Step 4.
Step 4, report. Build dashboards that clearly show those key metrics, conversion, velocity, drop-off for each funnel. Makes them visible to everyone who needs them.
Get the visibility sorted. Okay, and the last step.
Step 5, review. And this isn't a one-off. Conduct regular, ideally weekly reviews of those dashboards with stakeholders from marketing, sales, and CS.
It's an ongoing process.
Totally. Funnel management isn't set it and forget it. It's about constantly monitoring, analyzing, finding issues, testing improvements, and optimizing based on the data.
That's a really solid, actionable plan. So wrapping this up, the big takeaway really is that funnels aren't just a marketing thing.
Not at all. They're core to RevOps. They frame the entire customer journey from the very first touch right through to loyalty and growth.
And we should see them as interconnected systems, like Rand suggests.
Exactly. Systems you can analyze, measure, and tune up to improve your whole DPM performance and hit your business goals.
So for you listening, maybe pause and think. How does your organization view funnels? Are they siloed or connected? Are your stages behavior-based? Are you tracking the right stuff across marketing, sales, and CS?
Yeah, asking those questions is the starting point for potentially unlocking some major improvements.
Well, we really hope this deep dive, drawing on the insights of Rand Algov, has given you a fresh perspective on managing your GTM funnels. If you want to explore Rand's work further, you can find him at randalgov.bio. That's RANALGOV.bio. And on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/revenueops.
And speaking of making this all work, our next deep dive is going to be super relevant. We'll be tackling data governance. Because none of this funnel tracking works if the underlying data isn't reliable, right? Clean data is absolutely foundational.
Couldn't agree more. Clean data is the fuel. Definitely tune in for that one. Thanks so much for joining us on RevOps Unleashed.